If you were there when my mother died at the hospital on her deathbed, and she told you she wanted you to take care of us, take care of me, whatever, where did you go? Why would you just leave us there? Why did we have to grow up the way that we did? That makes no sense to me.
You just standing there, Mr. Wallace, like you don't have a piece of remorse in the world.
No, ma'am.
You don't have any issues with cheating on your wife?
No, she's not a victim.
She's not?
No.
Oh, fill us in.
She barely cooks. She doesn't clean.
Correction.
Miss Lockridge takes Mr. Tidwell to court, claiming he's not stepping up for their 10-month-old son, King. She's confident, 100% sure he's the dad, and today's DNA test will settle it. But hold on, the drama that follows, you're not ready.
Ms. Lockridge, you've dragged the defendant, Mr. Tidwell, to court because he has refused to acknowledge your 10-month-old son, King. You are 100% sure he's the father and claim today's results will prove your case.
Mr. Tidwell fires back, saying Miss Lockridge doesn't actually believe he's the dad. She just wants him to be. He insists they only had an on and off casual thing for 6 years. Miss Lockridge? She's ready to clap back with some fiery responses.
I think she's more wants me to be the dad than she really believes I'm the dad. She's obsessed with me, and she's to make me feel like I'm not the father. She's left town. She's left me with the baby for weeks. She only called me when she had the baby. There was no relationship.
We were on and off for 6 years. We were together for my understanding, how he led me to believe I was single, or I was with him in a committed relationship for at least a year.
Things heat up when Miss Lockridge says she told Mr. Tidwell about the baby with an ultrasound photo and a note. His reaction? Confusion, like he'd been handed surprise homework. But trust me, the real mess hasn't even started yet.
She came over to my house. We hung out. The next day, I see a piece of paper on my bed. I grab it, I looked at it. It was a note with an ultrasound in it. I'm not sure the exact words of the note, but it said that she didn't know how to tell me this. So I called her. She didn't answer the phone. She ended up leaving me a text message saying that she was sorry and that she didn't know how to tell me that she was pregnant.
Miss Lockridge insists she wasn't seeing anyone else when King was conceived, only Mr. Tidwell. While she's all about the baby, he's looking like he just walked into a plot twist. The courtroom, nowhere near done with the fireworks.
When we conceived my child, I told him I just had my period a week ago.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
He said, shut up, and we kept going at it for
Oh,
That's
wow.
a lie, Your Honor.
You thought that he wanted or didn't mind if he got you pregnant.
I mean, he just got another girl pregnant 4 months prior, and I asked him, what you gonna do about it? He said, if it's mine, then I'm gonna take care of it. So next time I come over, heck yeah, I'm excited.
Enter Mr. Tidwell's mom, Miss Harrington, who accuses Miss Lockridge of being obsessed with her son. She even jokes about a prayer closet dedicated to him. Oh, and she doesn't think King looks like their family. Drama off the charts.
She is very obsessed with my son.
I am not in love with him.
All she talks about is how much she wants to be with him and how she's got a prayer closet at home for him. Well, you know, this is just obsession, really.
Why is it so far-fetched that he could be King's biological father?
Because there was such a long span of time in between. I don't know anything about this young lady, really.
Miss Lockridge says she left King with Mr. Tidwell while working, but he claims she vanished for 2 weeks. And what happened when she returned? Let's just say it's part comedy, part cringe.
She left for 2 weeks.
No.
When I call her
Thursday
to ask her
Tuesday.
when she's coming back, she said she'll be back when she get back. I said, well, then I'm just gonna keep him and to figure out if he's mine. And all.
No,
She
it's called
came
airplane.
within an hour. She was there with
No,
a
I
man
explained.
and picked the boy up. Came in, snatched him up, left, and I didn't hear her
Okay.
for a week. And I'm like, where you going? Who you with? Oh, don't worry about it. Ooh. And she just snatched him up, left most of his stuff, bottles, and just left.
Miss Lockridge whips out King's birth certificate, pointing out that Mr. Tidwell named him and gave him his last name. Her argument? He knew King was his. The tension, sky high as the DNA results approach.
The birth certificate, there's no dad's name on it. That's all I want today. And if my son's name is King Tidwell, he needs the man that named him King Tidwell to be in his life.
You didn't just pick the name King, you gave him his last name too.
But yet he's gonna deny my son?
I
From
think
your
you got
actions.
hurt.
Denying is not a problem, Your Honor. It's
From
the
your
actions
actions.
of the way she's been acting,
Yes.
the things she do.
You named the child.
I gave her the name that I wanted my son to have.
The results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Tidwell, you are not his father.
Are you kidding me?
Messed up.
Things get messy fast. Mr. Robinson and his wife claim he's not Trevorous' dad and say Ms. Grant tricked him into paying child support. Now they're suing for $124 to fix his license and $1,600 in wages.
You and your wife say you are not the father of the defendant's son, Travaris, but know who is. You claim she deceived you into believing you were the father to collect child support, and as a result of your inability to pay, your driver's license was suspended and your tax return was taken. Today, you're suing Ms. Grant for $124 for license reinstatement fees and plan to return to court in your home state to fight for $1,685.10 in garnished wages.
Ms. Grant isn't backing down. She shows the court an affidavit where Mr. Robinson said he's the dad. She says he even acted like a dad before doubting it. Mr. Robinson admits signing it but gets sketchy about his proof.
My son never went around them. Yes, Dexter did claim my child because I have proof here where he went to sign papers and everything. He had the opportunity.
What is this paperwork?
That is where he signed and say that is his child, and he states that he will pay $60 a month for his child.
This is an affidavit, an admission of paternity, which is basically an acknowledgement of paternity.
Plot twist. Ms. Grant says Trevorus isn't Mr. Ellis's kid, but Mr. Ellis told Mr. Robinson otherwise. Mr. Robinson believed he was the dad for over 20 years, but one conversation flipped everything upside down.
2 years ago, when this other man approached him and told him that he was the father.
So, Mr. Robinson, at some point after you signed this acknowledgement, someone came up to you and said, I'm Mr. Christian's father?
Yes, Your Honor.
20 years you thought Mr. Christian was your son and you were paying support.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Ellis claims Mr. Robinson started the whole mess, but then it gets wild. He says Ms. Grant once called Trevorus his son, which she denies. Meanwhile, the tension rises, and Trevorus is about to weigh in.
No, that's a lie. He approached me. He came to me and he said, I heard that Martez was your son. I said, well, hey, man, hey, look, I didn't tell you to go up there and sign them papers, so that's on you. You know, I feel he is my son because of his mom approached me and said one.
And I never, Your Honor, I never.
Yes.
Trevorus shares his side, saying his mom left him confused about who his dad was. He felt closer to Mr. Ellis's family, while Mr. Robinson's barely acknowledged him. Judge Lake reminds everyone about the legal affidavit, but the real shocker's coming.
Were you ever told that Mr. Ellis was your father?
I was told that it could be either of the two.
That it could be either of the two?
Yes, ma'am.
And who told you this?
My mom.
Ms. Grant, your son's saying that you honestly told him it could be either of these two men. In your prior testimony, you said you were only sleeping with Mr. Ellis way before Mr. Robinson.
I was telling the truth earlier.
The DNA results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Eddie Ellis, you are not the father.
Buckle up, because this story starts with a mind-blowing twist. Mr. Hinton says he had a fling with the twins' late mom, which led to their birth. After a tragic accident, he lost contact and spent 25 years proving he's their dad. But the twins are like, who even is this guy? Things are about to get messy, so brace yourself for the drama bomb.
Mr. Hinton, you say that a brief affair with the defendant's now deceased mother resulted in their birth. You say you lost touch with the children after a tragic accident and have spent the last 25 years trying to find them and prove you are their father.
This part feels straight out of a soap opera. Mr. Hinton claims he bumped into the twins' mom at a flea market, visited her house, and the little girl Marilyn jumped into his arms like she knew him. But Marilyn's over here saying, no, that never happened. Trust me, the chaos is only just beginning.
I was in Columbus, Ohio at a flea market. Somebody came up and tapped me on the back of my shoulder. I turned around and looked. I didn't recognize her at first. Then she looked at me like, this is Tanya. And then it clicked for me right then and there. So we did our pleasantries and we hugged. So I said, well, why don't you come over tonight? And at the time we was talking, there was kids running around the living room. I mean, just running around. Kids do.
Now it gets popcorn worthy. Marilyn remembers a guy named Mark hanging around when she was little, but she never called him dad. Mr. Hinton says, surprise, I was going by my middle name, Mark. Apparently, there was an army of Emmanuels in Columbus. The reactions to this twist, priceless.
I do remember when I was a little girl and my mom let me go with a man who I called Mark. I didn't even call him dad. I didn't call him Manny. His name was Mark. He just took an interest in me and my mother just let me go with him. We would and I just remember one day that he just literally came and was like, no, this is the last time I'm going to see you. Probably about a year or so before my mother passed.
Things get crazier with a new plot twist. The court confirms Mr. Hinton's full name is Emmanuel Mark Hinton, but Marilyn insists her family said Renard was her dad. Mr. Hinton claims he was there during her childhood. If you think this is wild, hold on. It's not over.
But Ms. Waddell testified that she got picked up and spent time with a man named Mark. Your name is Emmanuel.
Right. a time in Columbus, Ohio. I don't know what it was. It was a big boom. There's a lot of males that were named Emmanuel. I knew 6 people named Emmanuel myself. So I didn't want these people to keep everybody in the whole city keep interfering with me, thinking I'm this Emmanuel and I'm this Emmanuel.
Now we hit the emotional part. The twins accuse Mr. Hinton of being MIA after their mom passed, sharing how they grew up in foster care and were separated at 9. Marilyn asks, if you cared so much, why didn't you come back for us? His response, eye-roll worthy.
We're 33 years old. Like, so if you are our father, like, why would you wait all of this time? Me and my twin, we grew up in foster care and we were even separated at 9 years old. Where did you go? I don't understand after 33 years why you just come in all of a sudden and, you know, you find me on Facebook, you say you were looking for me all this time. I've been in the same place.
Get ready for drama overload. Mr. Hinton says he promised their mom he'd take care of the twins, but needed time to get his life together. The twins aren't buying it, asking, where were you for 33 years? The roller coaster isn't stopping here.
He was there at my mother's death. That makes me extremely upset. If you were there when my mother died at the hospital on her deathbed and she told you she wanted you to take care of us, take care of me, whatever, where did you go? Why would you just leave us there? Why did we have to grow up the way that we did? That makes no sense to me. No excuse that he can give me on why he wasn't there, especially when he keeps insinuating that he was there when my mother passed.
This is a classic, are you kidding me moment? Marilyn asks why Mr. Hinton tried to pick her up, but not her twin brother. She's like, what parent picks one kid and leaves the other? Mr. Hinton blames challenges, but the twins aren't convinced. The tension is about to explode.
Why didn't he come back to get both of us 7 months later?
7 months later?
Yeah, why would you just say, I'm coming back to get Marilyn?
Because he was not there.
Okay.
I was there. I'm not gonna take one and not take the other.
I'm a single mother. I struggle, but I'm not just gonna leave him or just put him in foster care, let him go over, you know, ABC house just because I can't take him. We gonna struggle together.
But there wasn't a cycle there, Yana.
This kicks off with some juicy family drama that feels straight out of a TV show. Ms. Webster overhears gossip suggesting her dad might not actually be her dad. Her cousin chimes in saying, you're just like Mr. Ware. Same laugh, same walk. And suddenly, everyone's suspicious.
You recently learned shocking news that Myron Smith, the man you believe to be your dad and who paid child support for you, may not be your biological father. Now you've dragged the defendant, Mr. Ware, to paternity court to prove that he is your father and claim today's results will prove your case.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Webster dives into her baby book, uncovering clues that only fuel her doubts. She finds notes and gifts from Mr. Ware's family, while Mr. Ware admits he dated her mom but thought she wasn't his. Now, she's on a mission to untangle the truth with some spiritual guidance.
I had a baby book for a long time, and I never really started putting things together until the blood type wasn't the same. And I'm looking in the baby book, and there's relatives of Mr. Ware's family that signed in when I was born. They bought gifts. There was an address.
Relatives of Mr. Ware,
yes, Your Honor,
have signed into your baby book when you were born.
Correct, Your Honor.
The plot thickens when Mr. Ware shows up during a church prayer session. Ms. Webster turns around and realizes this could be her dad, but it's as awkward as it is surreal. The moment feels like destiny, or maybe just a bizarre twist of fate.
We went to visit him at his church. I knew who he was, but he didn't know who I was. I just been praying, you know, that I find out who my father is. There's things in my life. I came to the Lord. I went to the altar. They had altar call. I'm praying. And I'm nervous, but I just felt this energy. When I got up, Mr. Ware was standing right behind me. So out of all
And did you know it was Mr. Ware?
When I was down, no, I didn't know who was standing there when I got up.
Tamara Smith enters with major receipts, claiming she knows who the real dad is. She insists Ms. Webster's mom and Mr. Ware were together when Ms. Webster was conceived, clashing with her mom's denial. The drama skyrockets as Ms. Webster's mom steps in to defend her story.
My name is Tamara Smith, and I grew up in the household with Demisha's mother, Miss Webster. Mr. Ware was like a part of our family. I know what Miss Webster may have told him, that he wasn't the father, but I believe in my heart when Miss Webster left Louisville to move back to Dayton, Ohio, that she left her pregnant.
Mr. Smith, who's been paying child support for years, reveals he was out of state during the conception window. Despite signing papers without a DNA test, he wanted to do the right thing. Now, Ms. Webster's mom has to set the record straight amid mounting tension.
You have been paying child support.
Yes, I have.
But you don't believe you're her biological father.
No, I don't. Miss Webster was born September the 17th, which means that she had to be conceived either late December or January of 76 or late December of 75. I was in the United States Army, stationed in Fort Hood, Texas. Right there, she was born September the 17th. Last time I was home on leave was late November.
The mom testifies, confidently naming Mr. Smith as the dad, until it's revealed she was dating Mr. Ware too. The court hears everyone's version of events, creating a live soap opera moment. Then comes the bombshell. The DNA test results are in.
Keisha was named for my cousin Marika and Mr. Ware. His middle name and Marika's name together, and that's how she got to be.
Of course, Marsha and I, we got together to name her at the time. I do remember that.
You dated through the process, you named her together, but you were sure he was not the father?
Right.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Ware, you are not her father.
This gets messy fast. Like, grab your popcorn. Messy. Mr. Pierce accuses Ms. Koval of tricking him into thinking her baby was his. She admits she cheated, but insists Julian is his, setting the stage for a drama-packed showdown.
You are summoning your ex-fiancée, Ms. Cavell, for a paternity test to prove that her 1-year-old son, Julian, is not your son. You claim Ms. Cavell deceived you into believing you were the father, and it wasn't until Julian was 6 months old when she finally confessed she had cheated and you may not be the father.
Things explode when Mr. Pierce recalls giving Ms. Koval a chance to confess secrets, thinking they were solid. She admitted to cheating, which led to days of guilt-fueled confessions. Just when you think it's done, more chaos unfolds.
When I found out, I just had to call it off. I mean, there's no sense in really trying to go for a marriage because it's not true.
How do you feel when you hear Mr. Pierce say these things, Ms. Cavell?
It really hurts me. I know I made a mistake at one. We were both going through an emotional roller coaster at that time period. I made a mistake one time. I understand that my son looks nothing like him, but he looked to me when I was a baby.
You don't see no color in that baby.
Ms. Koval reveals she cheated after feeling unsupported during a tough time. She says it was a one-time mistake with a coworker, but Mr. Pierce doubts her. The awkward vibes skyrocket as trust hangs by a thread.
When was he born?
May 13th.
Oh, this is here. When you had that moment where you fell short and cheated?
It was in September. I don't remember the exact date. I had just lost a baby.
Early September, middle September?
It was early September.
Did you say the end of August, beginning of September?
Somewhere around.
You cheated right around here.
Mr. Pierce wants both a paternity and lie detector test, saying trust is gone. He can't believe someone he trusted betrayed him. Their future hinges on these test results, and the tension couldn't be higher.
In addition to the DNA test you request today, you're also requesting a lie detector test.
Correct, Your Honor.
We have, in fact, administered that test, and the results will be revealed shortly. You have this beautiful baby. When you look at this child, what are you thinking?
Every time I look at him, it kills me.
The paternity test results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Pierce, you are Julian's father.
Yes! From the get-go, it's chaos. Miss Reed demands a paternity test to prove Mr. Wallace isn't the father of Miss Austin's baby. Plus, she's suing Miss Austin for $5,000, blaming the affair for her financial troubles. Miss Austin fires back, denying she owes Miss Reed anything and insisting Mr. Wallace is her baby's dad. The drama is off the charts, and we're only getting started.
You are demanding that Miss Austin have a paternity test administered on her child, whom she claims was fathered by your estranged husband. You're hoping the DNA test will prove that your husband is not her baby's father. You argue that her affair has left you struggling financially as well.
Buckle up. This is where it gets messy. Miss Reed found out about Miss Austin when she answered Mr. Wallace's phone and heard, "I'm his girlfriend." Shocked, she responded, "No, I'm his fiancé and we just had a baby." Though she initially left him, she later forgave and married him. But Miss Austin's next bombshell keeps the drama rolling.
And I found out about Mrs. Austin. One day I came in from the hospital from having my second child, and Raniel's phone rang, and I just so happened to answer the phone. Mrs. Austin, she said, "I'm Raniel's girlfriend." I said, "Raniel's girlfriend, did you know that Raniel was engaged to me or whatever and just had a baby?" She said, "No." I packed my things and I left with my 2 kids at the time. I went and stayed at my aunt's house.
Miss Austin brings the heat with her unapologetic story. She claims she didn't know about the engagement and only learned of their marriage via Facebook. Instead of apologizing, she blames Miss Reed for not keeping up the house, saying that's why Mr. Wallace strayed. Her confidence is wild, but when Mr. Wallace enters, the drama hits new heights.
I found out on Facebook that Raniel, Mrs. Reed, was married. When she posted a picture up there of their marriage life, that's when I found out. And yes, I did confront Raniel about the marriage.
So what you're saying actually is that you didn't have any regret or remorse about it because you felt like if she was handling her business, he wouldn't be over talking to you.
Mr. Wallace arrives looking more casual than concerned. He admits to cheating, fathering 3 kids with Miss Reed and possibly one with Miss Austin, citing boredom as his excuse. Judge Lake calls him out for his audacity, while Miss Reed tearfully confronts the mess he's created. Things quickly turn emotional.
You just standing there, Mr. Mr. Wallace, like you don't have a piece of remorse in the world. You don't?
No, ma'am.
You don't have any issues with cheating on your wife?
No, she's not a victim.
She's not?
No.
Oh, fill us in.
First off, she wasn't a good wife. She barely cooks, she doesn't clean.
Correction.
Miss Reed's testimony is heartbreaking. She shares how her kids feel neglected now that Miss Austin's baby is in the picture. While upset with both parties, she ultimately blames Mr. Wallace for failing their family. Her only wish? For her kids to have a present, caring father, but there's still the $5,000 lawsuit to address.
I'd rather for it to be his because I feel like ever since Rayo had other kids on my kids get the short end of the stick. They rarely see their dad. Like when I take them to see him, I have to like leave them with him in order for them to spend time with their father. Before her child even got in the picture, Rayo was there for my kids for whatever, like watched them, gave them whatever. But now that Mrs. Austin's child is in the picture, my kids have to suffer, and I feel that it's not right.
The $5,000 lawsuit hits a wall. Judge Lake rules that Miss Austin isn't to blame for the marriage's downfall. That's all on Mr. Wallace. Miss Reed looks frustrated, but the judge calls out everyone's messy behavior, reminding them that children's lives are at stake. And now it's time for the paternity results.
We found out today through testimony and confirmation is that Mr. Wallace actually went after Ms. Austin. Now, in order for you to sue for alienation of affection, you have to prove that this young woman planned to destroy your marriage. I don't see that. It was his free will that started this affair. Are we clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
So for this reason, my judgment is for the defendant.
Here's the moment everyone's been waiting for.
In the case of Reed versus Austin, when it comes to baby Demuriel, Mr. Wallace, you are her father.
Told you, dummy. She looks just like